Okay, I'm gonna go live now.
Spot on. Awesome. All good? All good to go?
Yeah.
Excellent, mate. Thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Everyone watching. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you are watching this back. It's our last session today. We're on week 10 already. I can't believe we're the last.
We finally made it.
The last 10 weeks have gone. Yeah, we've climbed the Everest, haven't we? Yeah, we've done it. We've done it. And
congratulations. Pat on the back time.
Exactly. And do you know what? Especially through obviously the way that the last year's been. I know that some of you have done several courses. Not just the health and fitness side. Some of you have done the digital side and stuff like that. I think I can only commend someone who's taken effort through the last year to just pick up some new skills, develop themselves a little bit further. Do you know what I mean? Just pick up some stuff that they can say, right, things are going back to normality, slowly and steadily. And then you're going back with all these new sort of skills and all this new information that you've picked up, I'd mentioned to the guys in the drop-ins on Monday morning, how many people probably haven't thought about their definitely fitness, their health, the food that they're eating, the diet, for the majority of the last year, so like I say, top effort, guys, for being able to just sort of be able to sort of focus on anything in the madness and get this done. It's
I mean, did you see it was a couple of celebrities have been doing it, sharing pictures. I think Will Smith put one on, I think last week. It was I'm not gonna lie, I'm in the worst shape of my life, and it was a picture.
Oh, I saw it with his dressing gown hanging open, proper dad bod.
And he wasn't massively out of shape or anything, but for him and how normally in shape he is, he had quite clearly let himself go a little bit.
To say that he's obviously an international A-lister, you know what I mean? He's normally in really good shape, and this is someone who does have access to a personal trainer, personal chef, someone to do all of that for them. It's just obviously not where a lot of people's focus has been for the last year, I think, and in some cases it's just been the nature of things and the way things have gone. Some people have had a really, really tough, challenging year. A lot of us have had a tough, challenging year, so to be able to say, look, throughout this, we've given some consideration to our diet, what we're eating, trying to give ourselves sort of even just half a chance, do you know what I mean, in terms of your mood, your mental health. Of course, we've talked about it as we've gone through. Your exercise and your diet playing massive roles in that, so you've only helped yourself and probably people around you as well, even just through little things like that, when, like I say, hopefully we're through the worst of it now and sort of moving forward in the right direction, and it's a one-way street. So yeah, top effort, guys. Really, really well done. Let's get things sort of wrapped up. Let's dot some I's and cross some T's and stuff like that today. Let's get it all boxed off.
Some stuff off.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. So, I was saying we're just going to have a little bit of a recap on last week, if you don't mind just rolling out that first slide, please, buddy.
Going to open the blinds a bit more.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Get a bit of light on the situation. Yeah, definitely. Cool. I found in this room, I've got two windows, both curtains wide open. I can bang the big light on it. It makes no difference in here at all. It's been absolutely awful the last couple of days. Proper dark and horrible.
I didn't when it was thunder and lightning. I didn't mind it. I don't.
I don't. When you're inside,
that
quite can be quite therapeutic and quite sort of relaxing.
Unless you're in it.
Yes.
It was quite good. We nearly had a Diego cameo there, but he's ran away.
Oh, is he? Has he?
Enough.
Oh, bless him.
As soon as I mentioned thunder and lightning, he just went.
It's no, nope. None of that, thank you. Well, it was actually Woody, our pup. It was his first time hearing anything like that.
Freak out.
Do you know what? He looked at us the first time he heard the big boom.
Yeah.
He just looked at us to say a little bit. Yeah, he's a little bit what should I do? How should I react to this? Do you know what I mean? And if we'd have jumped in and been oh, you're all right, are you all right? You probably would have got yourself worked up a little bit more. But he just sort of carried on with what he was doing. What did get to him was it was outside. And he was midway, and then it just went bang, and he was no, I'm done. He just took off and legged it back of the house. Yeah, oh mate, he did. Yeah, proper comical. Yeah. Like in a cartoon when you scare a cat. That's what he was like.
And that was all that was left.
That's it. Yeah, just a dust outline of my dog. But hopefully the weather is sort of on the up. It's definitely been a little bit warmer, and it's a good chance for us to get out there and actually see some sights and stuff like that. We actually got him over to the coast last week.
Yeah,
it's the first time we've been over. probably in the like for the thick end of a year, you know. So
I mean, the weather is always a funny one. I've listened to a few like podcasts and read a few articles recently. Like as long as you're prepared for it with the right like clothes, like if it's raining or it's cold, like don't let it put you off. It's a bit more of a challenge. Like as you know, it's like probably 1.5 times harder to walk like say up a hill when it's cold because your body's just working harder to stay warm.
Of course it is.
You're burning more calories. Like it's good exercise. Like hiking in the cold or walking in the cold or cycling in the cold. Running in the cold is one of the worst experiences in my life. But when you can do it in horrible conditions, when you get to the nice conditions, it's easy. Like
of course it is.
You put the work in when it's hard. When you know, I don't know, the rest of the year, like I'd say one third of the year there's really horrible conditions, and then the other 2/3 it's like you find it so much easier.
Yeah, and if you have started doing anything, especially over the last 6 months, you know, over that winter period, you know, especially as the weather did sort of drop off a little bit as well, you know, like Ethan says, it'll have only sort of helped, probably a lot more than you've realised as well, you know, just in terms of keeping you active again, in terms of the mental health side of things, and just sort of giving us something to focus on.
Challenge as well, mate.
Of course it is. You know, that's sort of the aim of what we do, to have goals that we're trying to hit, and like Hatham says, if you can learn to do it and sort of even half enjoy doing it over those worst times of the year, you know, everything else seems so much more manageable, and it's actually a little bit of like a treat, isn't it, when you can get yourself out and it's just like a nice day, the sun's out, and you know, obviously you can hear the birds go, and you're starting to see trees get their leaves back and stuff like that. It's probably my favorite time of year, you know, coming into like that change of like summer's on the way sort of thing, you know. But yeah, it's been like I say, it's been for the last probably for the last year or so, it's been something that has sort of taken the back seat to a lot of different things, you know. So again, you know, it's just another reason why we're trying to get back on top of stuff now. Now's as good a time as any to say, okay, right, I'm going to try and have a little bit of a plan in place for when things go back to normality, whatever that might be. You know, you might feel like you're already back there. Maybe you're working in the office again, restaurants are open again to be outside. Maybe you are feeling like you're back to normal, you know. Maybe you're still furloughed and still thinking like, okay, I'm a little bit away from sort of what I would class as normal. So again, we're all in different places. As things open up at different rates, everybody's sort of progression back to normality is going to be different and at a different pace as well, you know. So don't feel the need to get wrapped up in the pressure of someone else's journey as well. You know, I have sort of spoke to people who are dreading as well going back to work in the office and say, oh, I've got less time to exercise, less time to train and stuff like that. But of course, we just need to be a little bit more sort of creative with the way that we're trying to train and working around those barriers. And as we'd sort of mentioned too, I mentioned it to Webin last week's session, actually, he was saying that the gym, he's got no motivation to go to the gym. So I'd said, well, if you've got no motivation to go to the gym, like, why kid yourself on that you're going to go to the gym? Can you find something that you are motivated to do? You know, that there is nothing set in stone that says the only way you can be fit and healthy and active is by going to the gym. Like Hatham, I know you like the gym, but I also know you like your running and your 5-a-side and stuff like that as well, you know. You don't have to be in a gym.
The only thing that the gym's like great for is like specific training. I mean, you've covered it in the week. You know, like you've got your strength training, you've got your like circuit training and stuff, but you can get around it. Like there's loads of stuff, as everyone's found out, that you can do from home. And just setting aside a bit of time to exercise, really, whether it's wherever it is, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and that's the sort of thing that, like you say, but we sort of talked about throughout the duration of the course, and that's where, like, rather than trying to give yourself a workout that takes like an hour and a half at the end of a work day, when you'd rather just maybe get your tea, get home, see the kids, pick the kids up from school or whatever, can you find like a session that does what you need to do in maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, cut that time in half? You know, can you approach it with a little bit more structure so you only need to go 3 nights of the week instead of 5, you know, that sort of thing as well. So again, you know, if you are struggling with the idea of like, right, how do I go back to normality and at the same time maintain a certain level of fitness, or how am I going to juggle starting them both for the first time? You know, you might be thinking, right, I want to start getting fit now and I'm due back at work or whatever it might be, whatever those commitments are, you know. So again, reach out, drop me an email if it is something that you're struggling with. It's kind of something that I always sort of gravitated and ended up doing when I was PT, and just identifying barriers and trying to find ways around them, because again, one little what we might call like a little gym hack or something like that, what works for one person isn't going to work for somebody else, so yeah, like I say, just give me a shout if that is something that you're struggling with, because of course we're going to have so much more opportunity as well, aren't we, the next 6 months, and we're going to have so many more activities, sports, venues, all of that sort of stuff that we can go and do and use and make the most out of, as opposed to certainly the last 6 months, so again, that whole idea of, do you know what, I don't even know where to start now, and there's so much options available now, I don't know where to start. Again, that's why we're taking a little bit of time to look, see what's local to you, and just have a little bit of thought on what you'd like to do and the aspects of sort of your own fitness that you'd like to work and that you'd like to be developing. So yeah, definitely, yeah. And by all means, do reach out if that is something that you're a little bit dubious about or finding a little bit daunting. Okay, cool. So from last week, we actually looked at planning a fitness assessment, and again, from an instructor's point of view, sort of linking into what I was just talking about there, a PAR-Q and a fitness assessment is a really good way to look at a client or an individual, a gym member, and look and say, okay, we're going to plan your fitness these ways because X, Y, Z, without those fitness assessments, without those PAR-Qs, it's really difficult to do that. I've sort of mentioned, again, stuff like even just learning somebody's name so you can greet them as they come through the door. Okay, I'm so and so, nice to meet you. You must be, and it sort of helps that person feel a little bit more relaxed. It helps them feel a little bit more comfortable, which sort of in turn means that they're more likely to use you as a resource, and feel comfortable coming and asking, how do you use this equipment? How do you do this exercise properly? Can you give us a couple of tips on my diet? You want to be fostering an environment inside the gym where people will feel comfortable and coming up and asking you questions. That was always my philosophy. I'd always spend a little bit of time in inductions, just making sure, again, I could take time to show them around every single machine and say, this does this, this does this, this does this. By the time I've done 3 machines, they've switched off and they're not, they're not really taking in each new machine, how it works, why it might be used. If I read somebody's PAR-Q or their fitness assessment, I can look and say, okay, this person needs to be doing some of this and a little bit of this, and they might get the most out of these machines. Those are the machines that I'm going to focus on, sort of letting that person know how they work. And then I would just let them know, look, when you're done, when you're ready to learn some new machines, when you feel like you need to push yourself a little bit more, when you feel like you've plateaued off, come and give me a shout, and I'd always hopefully leave people feeling comfortable to come and ask for that extra information when they sort of when they got to that point.
Yeah,
that was always the relationship I would try and build, and like I say, that the groundwork really comes in with your fitness assessment and your PAR-Q, because it's just giving you information, and the more information you've got, the more you can personalize that person's training and their diet, which is the name of the game. A diet or a plan that works really well for one person of the same build with a similar lifestyle, maybe works the similar hours. For numerous different reasons, it might not work for the next person that comes up. It might be easy to think, okay, they've got similar goals, their body type's very similar, they're starting from a similar point, I'm going to give them this training plan. It might not fit their shifts, it might not fit their dietary preferences, anything like that. So you've got to know all this information before we can really start to personalize things, and of course do it safely as well, which is kind of what we're going to dig into a little bit more today when it comes to PAR-Qs. Looking at, again, how it can sort of benefit you, how it can benefit your client as well, and keep you safe as well. So again, just finish recapping up from last week. Fitness assessments we did. Conducting risk assessments on activities as well is really important. Again, we're talking about making sure that we're doing stuff safely, and we do want to make sure that we're aware of assessments when it comes to kit, when it comes to the venue, when it comes to just activities in general. Stuff like box jumps. you know, obviously carry a little bit more risk to them than sitting on a machine and just pushing out in front of you. So again, you've got to be sort of assessing stuff sort of accordingly, and you know, making.
And if someone's had like a broken ankle, you're not going to hide them on the box jump and just say, "Oh, there you go,
Exactly.
go on then."
Exactly, buddy. Just about to say, you know, you can look and you can sort of assign exercises to the appropriate sort of people, like you say, making sure that they're not doing anything that's going to aggravate an injury or a surgery that they may be coming back from, as I've come across over the years as well. You know, so yeah, that was kind of the main focus of last week. We looked at fitness assessments. This week we're going to do something very similar with PARQs, and like I say, just sort of wrap everything up. And have a little bit of a recap on everything as well. So if we can go next slide, please, buddy. Recapping, sorry, what we're going to cover today. Like I say, benefits of a PARQ to the client. You know that a PARQ has advantages and benefits to the gym member that you're signing up in a lot of different ways. And of course, the benefits of a PARQ to yourself as the instructor, as the personal trainer, how it keeps you safe, how it sort of covers your own back a little bit, and make sure that you're not liable for a lot of stuff that you know could potentially come up through certainly injuries, accidents, stuff like that in a fitness environment as well. So we need to make sure that these are getting done. It absolutely baffled me, truth be told, when I went to my first gym. I was there in a self-employed basis, and the gym didn't have a PARQ. The gym had its basic sort of sign-up form that would say at the bottom, yes, I'm medically okay to exercise.
Yeah.
But there was no, like, if you had chest pains, is there history of this in the family? Have you ever been diagnosed with this or this, you know, which is information that you really do need. And the onus in that gym was on the PTs. So it was like, oh, okay, you're self-employed. When you sign somebody up to your training program, you need to do the PARQ. I'm like, okay, so there's no uniform PARQ in the whole gym. I might have a different PARQ to that trainer. They might have a different PARQ to that trainer. And mate, talking to them, especially PTs that were recently qualified, just starting off fresh, didn't know that they needed. Some PTs didn't have a PARQ at all. I was like, oh my days, this is like a liability case waiting to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of the first things that I made sure that I sorted out, and then I kind of made sure in a totally unofficial capacity, you know, I was never like a head PT or anything like that, but I always made sure that when a new one came in, I would sort of take them under my wing, and amongst other things, you know, letting them shadow me with clients and stuff like that. I would make a point of saying, look, you need this paperwork to cover your back, because you won't be told this, but the gym doesn't have one. The gym doesn't have one, you know, and as much as it would come back on the gym in the case of an event and an injury, it would also come back on yourself, you know. So yeah, you've got to make sure that you're protecting yourself and getting these things done, you know. So yeah, what we're actually going to build up to today, and the final sort of assignment that we're going to do for this course is going to be to design your own PARQ, as though you were signing a client up or someone coming in for your exercise class or something like that, and making sure that you've got this information on them, you know. So again, some of them are going to differ. That is something that we're going to look at this morning. A lot of them will ask for the same basic information, which is stuff that we want to make sure that we've got on there, you know, which of course is going to be your name, your date of birth, and other sort of stuff like that we're going to look into in a little bit. But yeah, you guys are going to actually design one, write it out, even down to the point where, you know, you're leaving a signature at the bottom for your client to sign, and then, like I say, just sort of either attach that to a workbook, send that over in an email, get some pictures of that, maybe send it to me via email again. However you want to do it, just like I say, just take a bit of time this week, design your PARQ, and then let me know, and we'll figure out how you're going to get it across to me, and then we can get it signed off. And then, like we say, we'll be done and dusted. That should be everything just about done, you know. But I say, we're just going to have a little bit of a deep dive into the sort of stuff that we would expect to see on a PARQ, and what even is a PARQ. You know, it's something that I've used the last couple of weeks. It's something that, through, you know, working in the gym for so long, it is something that sort of is a little bit more natural. You know, it's kind of like you know, like when we're talking about macronutrients and fats and proteins and carbs and stuff like that, it's in a gym environment, most people know what it means.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easy to sort of, or it's important to remind myself that sort of coming away from a gym environment, these are, of course, of course it is. It's new terms, you know. It's very sort of specific terms. So if we can, you've actually beat us to it, mate. Yeah. I've just been on the slide there. So what is a PAR-Q? So a PAR-Q is it's a form pretty much that you're going to fill out, and it stands for Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. So you're pretty much just declaring that you're fit, able, active, able to partake in the exercise that you're trying to sort of partake in, you know. And of course, you might be thinking, well, in what circumstances would exercise be a bad thing? You know, we're always banging on about, you know, we should be active, we should be fit, we should be trying to get exercise. You know, I've talked about mental health, depression. Of course, we can, to an extent, use physical exercise. We can use activities, that sort of thing. Stuff like osteoporosis, or early onset osteoporosis, and preventing it. My obviously go-to is like, right, let's get you in the gym, let's get you doing some resistance training. So in what sort of circumstances, and why would we need to worry about somebody not actually being able to, or being in a condition where they can actually come and exercise, you know? Normally, and the main reasons that I've come across it before is somebody recovering from an operation or a surgery. You know, that could be internal, you know, that could be a heart bypass, you know, it might be getting your appendix removed, whatever it might be. You know, the doctors are normally going to give you a timeline for coming back to fitness. Even just to make sure that stitches are going to hold, you know, wounds aren't going to reopen, all of that sort of stuff as well. We need to make sure that we're sort of not going to give ourselves more damage to recover from than we need to, while we're on that path to recovery. Yeah. At the same time, you know, it might be somebody who is maybe needing to get to a point where they need to lose, where they've lost enough weight that they can go in for, like I say, like a heart surgery, or sort of like a bypass or something like that. And if somebody drastically needs that operation, chances are there's certain forms of exercise that they shouldn't be doing again as well, you know. So that individual might be okay to exercise, but they might only be able to work at a certain level. At the same time, you know, it might put you in a position as a PT, as a fitness instructor, where you need to contact that person's GP and just say, look, what's going on? Can we clear this guy to exercise? You know, he's keen, he's ready to come back. You know, I've had people over the years that have had discs fused together, and then they're like, as soon as they can, right, I'm ready to get training again. I'm like, just because you feel okay now, when you're sitting at the couch, or maybe even just doing your day-to-day, you're working, you're doing all your other stuff that you need to do, just because you feel okay now doesn't mean that you're going to feel okay when you ask your body to work at, you know, an extra sort of 50% on top of that. And you might soon sort of knock yourself backwards.
It's like a physio's worst nightmare, isn't it? Someone who's returning from an injury and just like, you think it's fine, and then
yeah,
to be honest, definitely. It's not even normally during, because like normally during, your body's quite good at managing pain. Like you get a bit of adrenaline in you, and you're like, I feel great, and then you go home and you sit down, you have something to eat, and you go to stand up, and it's like, I don't feel so great anymore.
Yeah,
like, you know,
definitely.
My back's completely seized up, or my knee is just, it won't move anymore. It's a ball. That's it.
Yeah. Like, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, you know. Yeah, maybe I should have listened. Yeah, but and that is why another thing that you kind of need to be aware of with your PAR-Q, and once you filled it in, if anything changes on your end, you need to let the gym then know. You need to update that kind of thing. Like if you've signed your PAR-Q, you're sort of a full bill of health sort of thing, you're ready to go. Then, you know, while you're at work or whatever it is that you're doing, you know, you start to get pains in your knee, in your lower back, anything like that. You've then got a PT, or, you know, obviously you should be updating your PT with stuff like that as you go as well. But if you don't let anybody know, you know, that you're getting twinges in your lower back, stuff like that, you might need foam rolling, you might need stretching, you might just need to rest it. If your instructor doesn't have that information, they might be saying like, right, heavy deadlifts today, we're going for a PB. And you know what? You might be thinking to yourself, okay, it's just like you might be bought into the idea of no pain, no gain, all of that sort of thing. Similar, right? Let's do it, then let's do it. And like I say, you can end up throwing your back out, potentially missing however long in the gym that you do, which is actually going to set you back more than if you'd just taken a rest day in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is the argument that I always put to people. It's like, look, I'm advising that you miss today's session. Truth be told, mate, even just through a cold, a cough, a tight chest, anything like that, I would say to people, look, it's better off that you miss one session than you miss a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long it's going to be, So, and again, that's where the PARQ comes in. And again, it's really important that we're updating them and sort of making sure that everybody that needs to be privy of that information is, and like I say, just making sure that everybody's got the information to be able to personalize your exercise plan, because really it's there for your own benefit, like I say, which is something that we're going to dive into. But these PARQs, like I mentioned earlier on, should be done, and this information should sort of be gathered before you start any kind of fitness journey at all. That might be working with a PT, that might be just signing up for a gym, which is why gyms that I have worked in as staff, I've always made sure that the gym itself has a PARQ, and then there's kind of a separate one to PT that, maybe is a little bit more specific, maybe comes with a fitness assessment to start it up, so I've maybe paired those two things together.
Yeah.
But, depending on whatever your fitness journey is going to be, you need to assess whether you are in a position where you can sort of pursue that without causing yourself more harm. And like I say, sometimes that is just me saying, just nip off to your GP, tell them what you're planning on doing, ask their opinion, because they've got this information as well. GP says that you are capable, and sort of fit and gives you clearance. I'm not going to argue with that. I think another thing that we need to think about as the instructor is where our role sort of ends, where the boundaries of our role are. What are we sort of able to prescribe? What are we able to recommend? What are we qualified to suggest? A lot of the time, we probably could tell somebody whether they're safe to exercise. But at the end of the day, that is, especially in that case, that is up to the GP. And when it comes to protecting yourself as well, you've got to know where you need to hand over to a different professional, a different body. You need to know where you need to just use those external resources, rather than, thinking of yourself as a dietitian, a GP, a personal trainer, a psychologist as well, a therapist. I have because the nature of the job, you're going to get aspects of all of those, sort of naturally. But yeah, you need to be aware where you need to actually go to those people and sort of recommend that they get extra help, coming away from sort of even a GP side of things, especially in one-to-one PT when you're working with somebody. If they're doing the exercise and having, of course, struggles with mental health and stuff like that, of course, I'm always there to motivate. I'm there to sort of encourage. I'm there to sort of help you with your self-confidence and stuff like that. And of course, hopefully your exercise will do as well. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to skip a heartbeat in saying to somebody, look, I feel as though you maybe need a little bit extra support with this. I can only give you so much. I'm only qualified to give you so much. And again, we need to be aware when we can take this information and where we do need to hand over to someone.
Sometimes as well it work the other way. So like, GPs or like mental health advisors or even probably up to like psychiatrists, I'd imagine, or counselors or whatever. I know the NHS went through a long period of prescribing, like, I don't know if it was a pilot program or what, but like basically sorting out, had approved gyms where they could give them a membership.
That's a good idea.
I don't know if it's still active. I know there was something in Shields specifically in like the council run gyms. At the minute, obviously, the gyms are all over the place, and that's probably fallen by the wayside. But there was definitely some kind of program where you'd basically get prescribed exercise.
Really, yeah.
And like I said, I don't know if it was like a research thing. To see how much they could do, but there's like, if you Google it, there's people talk about like the local ones doing it, but obviously I don't know what the crack is at the minute. But I think that'll be, at the very least, the doctor would say, well, you need to get more exercise, and then that's the referral point, so that they're coming in from that way. But as well, like a mental health professional also, we've Mel's ran exercise classes like that where we've had referrals from people who've accessed mental health services, and part of it was, okay, get yourself back on track mentally. You have to get yourself back on track physically as well.
Of course, yeah.
They've already got that, but then it can work the other way where maybe they don't have that support and you can refer them into it. And just, like you say, there's only so much you can do on the gym floor. Like it's not gonna solve everything. So
absolutely, yeah. And you know what? You learn a lot through experience when you start doing the job. Yeah. I sort of likened it to kind of learning to drive a car. Like they teach you how to pass the test.
Yeah.
And then you learn how to do it afterwards when you actually sort out on your own.
Yeah.
But you do come across, obviously I've come across a lot of experiences and a lot of different unique circumstances and situations and stuff like that. But you only learn so much on your course. Do you know what I mean? You are only qualified to go so far. You know, especially the biggest one when it comes to PTs, and I know we're on a little bit of a tangent, but just before we spin on, the biggest one that I have seen with PTs over the years is probably giving out specific diet plans when you need a qualification in nutrition to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I could give you, do you know what? The amount of PTs out there, and do you know what? Even unqualified PTs that are selling people training plans, which is pretty much just what they do, and food, which is what they eat, you know. And you know, there's no real application for that. Do you know what I mean? There's no way that person can be considering things like micronutrients, do you know what I mean, and nutritional deficiencies, all of that sort of thing, making sure we're getting a balance of stuff like of course your zinc, your potassium, your magnesium, stuff like that. Not just a mix of your macronutrients, you know. It's something that we have sort of talked about. There's your macronutrients, which are your carbs, your fats, your proteins, and if you've got those in check and in balance, you can pretty accurately manipulate weight loss or weight gain. But that's not all there is to fitness. You know, we've got to be feeling good as well while we're doing it. You know, we've got to make sure we're getting those nutrients, them vitamins, them minerals, and more often than not, a diet that's made by someone who isn't considering those things and trained to consider those things is going to end up being quite deficient in a lot of things that you do actually need. You've only got to look at a bodybuilder's diet who's eating similar things every single day, you know, to say that there's a reason that they need as many supplements as they do, because their food is pretty much void of you know, a lot of the stuff that we do actually need, you know. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily just buy it,
really, isn't it? Like,
of course it is. Yeah,
it will work, and like the results that people post online, you know, you'll see the before and after. Oh, they've done a 6-week program or whatever. It'll work. You lose weight, but it's not necessarily the best for you. Like, how do you come off that? You pay someone to give you a 6-week diet or a 2-month diet or whatever it is, and a program to follow, and you do that and you lose the weight, but then where you left hanging a little bit after that, like you haven't got, where do you go after that? Because you can't follow that diet forever, because you'll drop dead.
Yeah. And do you know what the answer is? Learning. The answer is information. Do you know what I mean? Everything is the same to an extent. PT is the same. If it's done where a sense where it's like, okay, go and do this. I'm not going to tell you why or how, really. Just go away and do this. But you get to the end of that training program, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. Have you learned enough to go away and sort of apply it to your own training? Probably not. You know, you're going to be maybe a lot more dependent on sort of needing to keep paying that personal trainer. You know, a lot of these fad diets are the same. You know, you lose weight on their framework and on their structure, and then you're all ready to come off it, and you've got a choice of the stuff that you have been doing that was working, but you're maybe sick of or ready for a bit of a change, or you know, the only other option you've got, because it's all you know, is your old habits, you know. And if you go back to your old habits, you're going to go back to your old physique pretty soon as well. You know, yeah.
That's all yo-yo diets, isn't it? That's what's the biggest one. Like, people will lose like 3 or 4 stone, and then within 2 years they put it down, because you can't live on the diet forever.
Yeah, and at the same time, you can't come off the diet and still be successful. And that is where, again, not dropping any names, but that is where a lot of these fad diet companies and a lot of that has really sort of made a killing of it.
I think,
you know,
a lot of like people who do it independently as well, have like there's a couple of them, a collective or whatever, but it's like an out of the box thing they're trying to do with the diet, and like I say, it works. And if you look at it as a means to an end, so okay, I need to lose this weight, like I have to. I've got to. I've been told by the doctor, like, look, if I don't lose this weight, I'm in big trouble. Then yeah, that's great. Actually, having this program that's just out the box, and I can just lose the weight pretty much at the drop of a hat. That's fantastic. But it's the bit after that just leaves people, like I say, like high and dry. Like it's not long term, so you need to know what you're going to do in the end.
Yeah.
And I think the best ones will be, like you say, like a nutritionist who can say, like, look, we're going to do this for this period of time. Like I told you about that guy who he does like the weight loss camps in America, and they go out like in the hike and you eat nothing but like apples, like 2 weeks or whatever, and like the weight drops off them, but then he has them really like basically teaches them how to eat again.
Like a re-education thing as well.
And what, like, calories in, calories out, and what you need and what you don't need, and you know, trans fats and all the rest of it, and like, you know, you basically get the knowledge of, okay, if I eat that, I'm and consistently I'm going to put the weight back on. Like, can't do it.
And that's the sort of stuff that we do need to be acknowledging as well, you know, and we do need to be learning. So that's why I'm saying, like, that's why I love what I do. I love working in the gym and PTing as well, because my approach has always been, well, let's sort of look into why we're doing what we're doing, you know, and again, that hopefully, you know, gives people a lot better of an idea how they can sort of cope when I'm not stood there leaning over their shoulder telling them exactly what to do.
Yeah.
You know, because the more people I can sort of get to that point and say, like, right, I'm confident that you sort of know what you're doing now, the more people I can then move on and sort of start the process again. You know, that I do think that the information and access to the information is the key to real sustainable sort of change, you know.
The other thing as well is someone's got to want to do it, because, you know, as you know, the only person you cheat yourself when you so if you like don't put certain stuff down on your parquet, or you don't, like, you're taking a food diary and you don't write it down, like, you know, it's not gonna, you as the PT, it's not really going to affect you too much.
Yeah,
it's them that's sort of cheating themselves.
Of course it is. Yeah,
they have to want to come in and get sorted. And I'd say someone who sought out a PT is serious about it. Whereas I feel like I know people who go to the gym and they're like just sort of mess around, really. Like, it's a social thing. It's not
go through the motions.
It's more of a social thing than a fitness thing with them. And that's fine. You know what I mean? They are relatively active because they do stuff, but they're not. They could maximize the time a lot better. They might go for an hour and a half when really they could be there for half an hour and done the same amount of exercise, but they like to have a walk around and chat with people, and that's fine as well. Do you know what I mean?
If that's your thing, you know.
A lot of exercise classes, people are like that as well. Like, they don't put 100% in, but it's down to the individual. And you, as I suppose you as a PT, I'd imagine you can only push someone so far as well.
Oh, definitely, mate, definitely. I remember. I don't know whether I've mentioned this. I had a woman come in once for her first PT session with us. It was a free It was like pretty much like a free. Let's get you up on the gym floor, see where you're at, let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
And she totally straight faced turned to me and went, "Can we go up in the elevator?" I was like, "What, for your first gym session? For your first gym session, you want to go up in the lift?" I was like, are you injured? Have you hurt yourself? Is there something that I need to be aware of? Like, oh, no. I'm like, oh, okay, we're in for a bit of a culture shock here, I think.
Like, this is the warm-up, up and down the steps 10 times.
Definitely. You'll be surprised to know that she didn't come back.
No.
And she wasn't even a member of the gym much after that. And do you know what? I think that was... She was relatively successful in the sense of running her own businesses and stuff like that. And I think that she thought that just paying for a PT was going to do the work for her.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, not the case. Like Hatham says, we can give you the tools. The only person that you're cheating is yourself, really.
Yeah, that's the other issue. Like I was saying, like, you know, people like to post things on like Instagram or, you know, Facebook or whatever, like, oh, another PT, blah, 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 like give you all the lip service and that, but it doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the result.
Yeah. Definitely. But at the same time, no worries, man. Of course, it is definitely worth mentioning that, of course, a lot of these programs, diets, classes, they seem so much more manageable when you've got a little bit of focus and when you've got all the information that you can put them together and do them right and like I say, sort of make them manageable. someone's much more likely to adhere to a training. That's all right, man.
I left halfway through my thought. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So like, I know again a lot of people who like pay for PT and make a big deal of it, and they're like, I know they're wasting the money because they're not. And it's not me having a go at them. I just know, like, these people are my mates, and I think the world of them. But their mentality of the gym is like that woman where it's just like, I'm going to pay for this PT session and that'll make it easier. When actually, you're probably making it harder for yourself in terms of you as a PT are going to challenge me and get the best out of us. And that's what you're paying for. Like, and that's what you're going to be instructed to get the most out of your time and to be in the best condition you can possibly be in. That's a massive, and it was a wake-up call for me. Like, I've considered myself relatively fit and in good shape, and then I started doing PT sessions, and I was like, I'm nowhere near the level I thought I was at. Like, I had an arrogance about it. I was like, I play football, I do a bit running, I lift weights and stuff, and then I would go into these sessions and I would come out and like, so I'm soaking from head to toe. And I'm like, the next day I'm shuffling around like the Monster Mash, like I can't move. And I was just like, it was like a switch went in my head, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, you're not all that. Like,
you're not there yet.
Like,
not there yet.
But you never will be. You'll. It doesn't matter what you do and how many classes you do and how many like strength and conditioning sessions and runs you go on. Like, you're never gonna find something that won't challenge you, and that's what having a PT is really good, because you don't want to get set in a rhythm where you only do the certain things and you only do like one or two exercises, or you only do one or two machines. Like, you want to be. Well, I want to be challenged, like, and pushed.
Yeah, we have to be. We have to be. It's an old saying: if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. You know.
Exactly.
You've got to force your body to adapt. Really, that is what we're doing when we're exercising, when we're on a fitness program. We are carrying out certain habits and behaviors to force our body to adapt, and the aesthetic that we get from that is literally just a byproduct, really. And that is why it's part of the reason why we need to make sure that the health is there as well. It isn't just about losing weight, putting weight on. Like Hatham sort of mentioned earlier on, there will be times or there might be times where somebody needs to lose weight pretty quick, and it doesn't necessarily matter too much how that weight comes off. Nine times out of 10, you're much better off being slow, steady, consistent, and like I say, trying to make sure that you're feeling good at the same time. Because you know what, the amount of bodybuilders that I've spoken to over the years and stuff like that, who when they're on show day and they look their physical best, they feel like
full of like trend and no water in them, and just like, you don't want to be like on loads of experimental drugs, really. It's not good, like, is it?
I can't comprehend, and I imagine that supplementation and additional supplementation is probably something to do with it. I can't understand how they don't get more like colds, infections, just low immune system.
I think they do, I think after like a show, when they do like the competitions, like, I don't know, like Mr. Olympia and that, I think they get really ill. I think like their immune system breaks down, but obviously they go to shows and they're surrounded by like, I don't know, think about a convention, for example. Like, there's probably, obviously not at the minute, but, before COVID, there was probably like, I don't know, a couple of thousand people coming through there on a weekend. Like, imagine how many germs are flying about in that room. And you've got your immune system shot a bit because you haven't had any like vitamins for like a week. You haven't eaten a solid food in like 3 days. Like, you're gonna be totally run down. Like, I think a lot of them get really, really ill. But I think athletes do as well. Like, Olympians, like, during the Olympics, when they have to stay in the village and stuff, when their events are over, they get ill, they get unwell, and it's just because they're surrounded by so many germs and they're so run down because they're at the maximum capacity. Like,
constantly, you've got to have that little bit of downtime as well, haven't you? But your training plan. That's the thing. These Olympians and these bodybuilders and stuff like that are training specifically for a certain day or a certain event. 99% of us are just training so things hurt a little bit less when we get up. So we don't get out of breath going up the stairs. So we can, I don't know, carry all the shopping in one trip to the car. You know what I mean? Like that total stubbornness of one trip or not at all.
Always one trip. Like,
always one
put
trip.
The bags up your shirt and
that's
like,
it.
You 5 on each hand and fine. But so does that mean? I mean, do you do what the part Q? I take it. So say someone come in, I don't know, they've got a bad knee or whatever. And you sort of rehabilitate that to a point. Would you revisit it and sort of say, right, well, this has actually changed now? maybe we can look to do something a little bit different.
Or in terms of the exercises and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. I would usually so if someone had a bad knee, that would straight away.
Done, I don't know, their ACL and they're coming back from a ligament tear.
Yeah, I would probably just get them on resistance band stuff first, just a little bit of resistance.
Yeah.
That sort of thing without worrying about putting too much pressure through. But then it would be baby steps. Like I was always so conscious of stuff like this. I would always come back as many steps over as I could and start basic and just gradually build up. And then we'd probably get to a point where I'd need to be saying, depending on what the exercise is, depending on how long ago the injury was, I might get to a certain exercise where I'd say, okay, let me know if you feel it through this, be it sort of like a wide stance squat or something like that. I'd be like, always start body weight first as well, of course.
Yeah.
Rather than saying like, right, okay, I'm just going to chuck a load of weight on the bar. Let's go see how we get on. So I would always sort of edge towards the side of caution, Again, I would rather that you maybe didn't get your personal best this session and you got it next week instead than you do your ACL again, or something like that, So I would always come down to specific injuries and areas, injuries, stuff like that. It would be a case of, because no two injuries are the same. It can be kind of the same place. But people are at a different stage of recovery. The surgery that they've had might have been varying degrees of success, or their body might be sort of taken to sort of like if they've had a bit of muscle pulled out or a ligament pulled out of somewhere else and put it into somewhere else, their body's going to accept that at different rates as well. So there is just a little bit of trial and error as well, just sort of like testing. It's like, okay, always body weight. We'll try this range. We'll try this movement. Where's your pain? Where's your stiffness? Yeah. What part of the range of motion are you finding the hardest? Which then again might give me an idea of, okay, you're struggling with the bottom half of the range. That means that we can work on exercises at the top half, and then we can work on mobility for the bottom half of that range as well. So again, something as little as, oh, I've got a bit of a twinge in my knee that you might think is quite inconsequential, could actually inform the first month of your training. Do you know what I mean? Especially as you're getting used to a new person and getting used to a new individual, because there's the personal side of things as well. Someone says to you, oh, my knee's hurting a little bit. You as a PT need to learn how to read that client well enough to know whether that comment is, something that needs to be sort of taken seriously. And, is it someone who doesn't really ever complain about pain? Is it someone who's twisting every session about, oh, it hurts, hurts. And again, that's going to assess the way that you interpret the information as well. But again, that just comes from learning and knowing the individual as well, which again comes from making use of the chance through their induction and using their PAR-Q and their fitness assessment to just get as much of an idea about them as possible before they turn up. More often than not, I would make sure that I had even just like a 20-minute exercise plan or routine to go through on the gym floor. I'd do like half an hour, sit down, have a big crack with them, and then I'd go up and do half an hour on the gym floor.
Yeah.
If I wait until I'm having that initial consultation with them to start asking questions, I have only got minutes to think about, right, how am I going to use this information and tailor them and give them a little 20-minute program? Do you know what I mean? Like, I did it, early doors when I was still learning how to be as efficient as you could be. You have this initial conversation, then you're walking up the stairs to the gym floor and your mind's going, it's like, okay, they've got a bad knee, they can't do this, I shouldn't do this, I need to stay away from this. Okay, I've looked over there and that machine's busy, so I can't use that one. When if I'd looked at their PAR-Q and as much information as I could before they come in for that meeting, I can already have a bit of an idea in place. I might even have a plan written down, that I could maybe make a couple of tweaks to if then I learn, get a little bit more context or a little bit more perspective during that conversation. I'm just tweaking one or two things, not trying to put a whole fitness plan together while they're doing a 5-minute warm-up, because it just puts pressure on. It might even give you like the air of like flapping. Do you know what I mean? It's something I'm not entirely sure, but it might and probably could quite easily come across to the gym member as well of, okay, this person's kind of thinking on their feet. They're not really they haven't really known much about me until I've come in, which You know, it's when we're trying to create that atmosphere of, oh, do you know what, you're really important, and trying to give them that sort of specialist treatment. You know, like I say, having a little bit of a plan before they come in can go a long way for even just creating confidence and making them sort of buy into what it is that you're about to suggest to them or advise them on. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've talked quite a lot about what a PARQ is, and ways that you might come across them, areas that you might sort of need to fill them in. Let's have a look at the benefits of a PARQ then. So we've mentioned quite a lot of them already this morning, actually. Just worth diving into some of them a little bit more. Of course, the main thing that it's going to do really is identify the apparent health of the individual. I've got apparent in brackets there because, of course, you only know what they disclose. You know, if you say to a client, right, you're going to go away and do like 10 sets of 10 squats, really, really heavy or something like that, or whatever it is that you're going to be, and they do blow their knee out or hurt their knee, and they were like, oh, well, this was hurting before I even started. Why did you suggest I do that? And you're like, well, there's nothing on your PARQ. Do you know what I mean?
You didn't tell us.
Yeah. If you don't tell us, I don't know. I can't factor that in. I would rather you told me every little thing, and I can be the judge of whether that's important or not, or whether I need to consider that or not, rather than that person just decide, oh, I don't need to let them know this because of this reason, when really it would probably greatly help the process that we go through in terms of putting the exercise plan together and stuff like that. So we can look and see sort of where they're at. I mean, even little things like little pieces of information that it's standard on a lot of PARQ stuff, like your weight. You know, I can then look at somebody's weight again, and you know, it's just a figure. So I can be aware of, do you know what, if somebody is 16 stone, I don't know whether that's a really buff 16 stone, you know, or whether that's, you know, with a little bit of body fat to lose. You know, that there's like you say, a lot of ways that you can interpret that. But somebody who is a weight that I would sort of, they'd get to a certain weight and I think, okay, this person, I'm not going to ask to do any jumping. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to ask them to do any jumping today. I'm not going to ask them to do any running, just in case, you know, I'm not going to plan any running for them, you know, just in case they do turn up and they have a certain build or body type that I would recommend not putting that impact through their knees and their hips and their ankles and stuff like that. So again, just little bits of information that you might not consider to be important can inform that process, you know. Yeah. If I've got your height and your weight, I can put you on the BMI chart, you know, straight away and see where you are on that BMI chart. Now, again, we've mentioned that's not the be all and end all, and that can be flawed, but at the same time, it gives me a much better starting point and an idea of what that person looks like, and is going to be able to perform. It gives me a much more of an idea than if I didn't know that information, you know, and I'm just waiting for somebody of an undisclosed stature to turn up, and I'm meant to have like a training plan personal to them, and I don't even know sort of their sort of how much they weigh, how tall they are, that sort of thing, you know. So again, the more the information that we're getting is going to inform things in a lot of different ways that certainly members that I've spoke to over the years haven't really considered. Okay, cool. So so assessing and identifying individuals who need special attention or should not be exercising until they obtain medical clearance from a doctor. So kind of linking into what I'd mentioned earlier on, you know, some individuals you're going to need to say, look, unfortunately, exercise for whatever reason, and it's always got to have a good reason, you know, to be turning somebody away from exercise. But there are some people out there where you've just got to say, look, exercise isn't for you right now. Like I say, you need medical clearance for a doctor. I'm concerned about X, Y, and Z, and just making sure that those people aren't exercising before they're ready. And at the same time, you know, individuals who need special attention. I sort of mentioned before, a lady that came to sign up for the gym on an off-peak membership again, which I'd put her on to keep it as cheap as she could, because when I read through her PARQ, I saw that she had chronic fatigue. So this lass was only going to be able to use the gym for 10-15 minutes a top, like a time, you know, 10-15 minutes at a time. So it wasn't really something that I could say to them, right, go away and do an hour running. Do you know what I mean? I know you'd like to be able to go away and do more aerobic endurance sort of stuff. I know you'd like to be able to go out on a 5-mile walk, stuff like that. That's what we've got to build to. You know, we can't just assume that you're at that level right now. And it was only through that person's PAR-Q I was able to not only recommend, right, okay, we only do 10, 15 minutes at a time. So we don't want you on paying for a full membership, because that would kind of be a waste of money. If you're able to come in on the off-peak hours, which might be just on an afternoon, which she was fortunately able to, you know, I can put you on a membership that's half price. So the fact that you can only come in on 10, 15 minutes at a time isn't going to sting quite so much and seem as so much of a waste, albeit the fact that it is letting you get some exercise in, you know. And that also let me go away and actually contact that lady's GP and be able to say, look, okay, what's going on? At what point would you recommend I move her up to 20 minutes exercise at a time instead of 15 minutes exercise at a time? You know, so that PAR-Q actually opened up the opportunity for me to go and speak to her doctor and her GP and get a little bit of advice from him as well. You know, not only on a condition that I'd never worked with before and never come across, you know, in terms of chronic fatigue. I didn't know personally how long to sort of prescribe for exercise. Where's the limit? What's going to make worse? Because somebody with CF can actually do too much, and whereas we might be sore for a couple of days, that person might have no energy for the best part of the next week. You know, so they can. It's actually really easy to do too much. So again, through tracking that on a PAR-Q, because it was disclosed on a PAR-Q, I was able to look at that condition, go and learn a lot more about it, which of course helps my practice as well. And at the same time, I was able to then gain information sort of outside my expertise and say, right, okay, your GP's recommended that you only do 10 minutes at a time for now. When you get to this point, we can move you up to 15 minutes. Then we can look to move you up to 20. So that again, albeit it was a new condition that I hadn't really come across before. I didn't really know how, what kind of special attention that member needed.
There's cystic fibrosis you're on about, yeah?
No, chronic fatigue.
Oh, okay.
Chronic fatigue.
Okay, I mean, equally as bad.
I think that used to be. I think it used to be MS.
Right.
I think it used to be MS, and they've sort of they've renamed it. Maybe because of the confusion with cystic fibrosis. Okay. This was chronic fatigue, where this girl would get to 10 minutes feeling pretty good, and then essentially hit a wall. Now with a lot of people, when they hit that wall, that is a case of saying, right, okay, we're going to either try and push through, depending on where they are, or, you know, maybe we're going to ease off a little bit now.
Yeah, it looks like there's common, like, overlap, so the symptoms are common, because you can also have myalgic encephalomyelitis. I can't say that. There's an
yeah, you've committed now, mate. Yeah, okay.
Show you that one. That's what I was trying to say there. ME, and chronic fatigue syndrome all have common symptoms, so
they can overlap. Yeah.
And then fatigue is one of them, like that, like you're saying, that like 10-minute window where you feel champion, and then all of a sudden just bang. Yeah.
If that person got to that wall, that was too late. They'd done too much, and you're looking at 4 days of
like just
nothing really. Yeah. So that was really that was a bit of a learning curve for me. And like I say, I was always really, really sort of interested to go away and learn about new conditions and how they affect people, and how I can then incorporate that into training and stuff like that. And of course, there's going to come a time where you come across something for the first time, you know, and again, that is where you've got to realize where your roles end. You know, you need to go away and either do a little bit more research, or again, seek out somebody who can actually inform you or that person a little bit more accurately. But the PAR-Q was literally the difference between me signing that person up to a full-time membership, letting them pay more than they maybe needed to for what they were going to be physically able to do. I wouldn't want anybody paying for a full membership just to come in and train at 10 minutes at a time. You know, I'd always try and find a way around it for them. It was just so happens that I managed to get her onto an off-peak, you know, and actually save her a little bit of money. But at the same time, it actually opened up dialogue with her GP, where we would just bounce things off each other, you know, where she at, what's going on. So sooner or later, like you might not even see it. It might be happening behind the scenes, but you do end up having like your own team working on your fitness. You know, you actually maybe do start to feel a little bit like a celebrity. You know, I've got my PT over there, I've got my GP. You know, they're all working together to put this program in place for us. It's awesome. You know, it's always been a process I've been really proud to be part of. You know, and like I say, just helping people, especially with who do need special attention or who have special needs. It's always been a passion of mine, making sure that exercise is something that's accessible to them, you know, and a park queue is absolutely massive in doing that, you know. At the same time, it creates a really good opportunity to ask about a client's wants and needs, you know, be it their goals, what you're trying to work towards. You know, we've talked about components of fitness. Which of those are most important to you?
I suppose. Like the wants and needs and goals. Of course
they will. Yeah, of course they will. Yeah,
flexible.
Yeah, I used to regularly do like a review, like after 12 weeks. Okay, where you're at, how you feeling, what do you feel like you need to focus on most now? Yes, I can see that you've got stronger. I can see that your flexibility's got to the point that we said we'd be happy. You know, we can maybe do a little bit less of that. Okay, you want to start some strength training?
You can give me a flexibility routine if you want, like, because I'm like I'm literally like a 2x4 at the minute.
Oh man, having one and actually doing one are a different thing. You know, the amount of
the sit and reach thing you were on about the other day. I don't have the kit to do it, but I sat down on the floor, sort of straightened me back, got to my toes, and I thought, right, we'll go again. And this is a massive tangent, by the way. But then I thought, right, I'll try and grab and get my hands down to the middle of my feet, and I did it. And I thought, I wonder how long I can hold. And I got to about 8 seconds, and I was just like, I think I actually screamed like out loud because I was just like, this is ridiculous. And again, it was one of them massively humbling moments where you think, I'm all right, man. I mean, like, I decent nick and I'm in pretty good shape. And then you do something like that and you're just like, nope, definitely not.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? How we do sort of get a bit confident when our body's doing what we ask it to at the level that we're asking it to operate.
But even that tiny change is the point I'm making. Like that can just, it shakes it up to a point where you basically feel like a beginner. You're humbled, pretty much. Like, and it's good though. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, you really can do, as well. And again, it gives you a bit of an idea about the psychology of the individual as well. Like, again, the more you work with them, the more you'll pick up on stuff like that. But something that I've mentioned before that I used to do was whatever they did on their first session, I would record the sets, the reps, the weight that they did. And then on their 12th week at the end of their program, we'd do that session again. I'd be like, right, okay, look how much easier that was this time. You could have done that session as a warm-up now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas 12 weeks ago, you were leaving the gym absolutely beasted.
Crying.
Calling me all the names under the sun, Exactly, mate. Exactly, you know. So just getting an idea of what makes that person tick, you know, what drives them a little bit more, what's going to help you get the most out of them as well, you know. As well, sort of what stuff that they like and don't like in terms of exercises and stuff like that. I will always be upfront with people when they sign up and say, look, you're not going to enjoy everything. That's part of my job. If you're enjoying everything, I'm not pushing you as hard as I could be, really, unless you're a real glutton for punishment, you know. But at the same time, I'm not going to throw unnecessarily unenjoyable or difficult tasks or activities at you.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to come back, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to scale them off.
Yeah, that is a PT's. I would say that is a PT's number one priority is keep people coming back. Not in the terms of you need to keep generating business and getting and getting paid sessions and stuff like that. But like we've talked about it to death. You know, a diet and a training plan and anything only works if you stick at it.
Yeah.
You know. A PT might be the best PT in the world. If you get somebody in and you absolutely like wipe the floor with them and then send them out the gym to the point where they never want to come back,
you failed.
You've kind of done the opposite of what your job is. Yeah, you know, as much as you've beasted them and given them a hell of an hour that they've paid for, it's not really cultivating the right sort of mindset. Exactly.
The last time you'll see them in your lifetime. So yeah, good job.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, well done. You've enforced your reputation as a PT that wrecks people. Yeah. Congratulations, but people aren't signing up and staying for more than 1 or 2 sessions.
Nope.
You know, exactly.
They should go hand in hand as well, right? If you're good at what you do, and you know, people are seeing the results, like they'll come back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. And again, coming back to the idea of making what you're doing feel manageable and obviously challenging, but it's got to feel within reach as well, hasn't it? You know, and it's
100%.
Like you say, something that you enjoy, you're much more likely to stick at. And that might not be the whole session, but if I know that we've got to do some work on your quads and your glutes, and you know, depending on what you're training for, if I can say, look, I know full well that you hate back squats with a barbell on your back.
Yeah.
You hate them. You don't feel comfortable. The bar doesn't feel comfortable. You know, you maybe it's a little bit sort of it putting a little bit of pressure on your neck. You don't like it. If I don't need to have you doing squats, I can take you over to a leg press machine and sit you down and get you doing something that you're going to enjoy a lot more.
Yeah.
You know,
or even just like that stuff. Like when you do, if you've ever done like football training, and like one of the first things you'll do in the sessions is like you do a daft game, like where you've got to give each other a piggyback for 20 yards and then swap and then do a press up, and like it's all exercises, but it's all just a bit of a laugh, really. Like, and that's like your warm up probably.
Yeah.
And it gets you involved with a group, and it's like an icebreaker, and it's good. Like, it doesn't have to be like full on, right, okay, we're doing laps of the pitch, and whoever's last has to do 20 sit-ups, and like, because you can do that, and they will, that at some point during like a pre-season training session, you'll get absolutely blasted to bits, but it's not all that. It's not an hour of that, because everyone would just, like, no one would be able to cope with it without getting injured. Like, it's
exactly,
you have to, there's levels to it, and you have to, as you know, and as you're explaining, like, but from someone who's done it point of view, like, you know, it's not all that all the time. There is, you do enjoy yourself at some point as well. Like,
chances are if you're coming to the gym for an hour as well, you're not going to be 100. You're not going to be 100 miles an hour for that.
Honestly, try it. Like that's what I would say. Like people like that. Like I say again, quite humbling. Like you do these exercises. Like you get a session from a PT, and you try and do it, and like it's a time-based one, and it's like, right. So I did one on Monday, and it was a 15 calorie. So you know the ski machine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it was 15 calories, 15 burpees, and then 14 calories, 14 burpees, down to 1. Like, I'm gonna blast this. Like, this is easy. I had the weighted vest on and everything. I was like, this is champion. This is easy. Like, I'd done a session as well. I was like, I'll get a bit cardio in. And I honestly, like, I was just dazed. I didn't leave. I finished it in about it took us 22 minutes, and I didn't leave the gym for another 15 minutes because I just couldn't. I couldn't stand up and walk around, and my head was just completely gone. And I was like, that was 22 minutes, absolutely flat out.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that was easy. No, definitely not. Like,
do you know what? That's where like a Metafit or a Tabata class or something like that. It sort of shows
wakes you up, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. Like, if you're working that hard, 20 minutes is enough.
No, mate. Like, even like I was saying, like just holding that that stretch, couldn't even get to like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Too much pain.
Yeah. Okay. That's me done for the day.
Yeah. Like, and it does it. You wake up to like, okay, actually, you know, sometimes I've gone to the gym for 2 hours, but I might have actually only worked out for like 40 minutes. Like,
yeah, you've just been there for a while.
Yeah. I've been there for 2 hours. Maybe I was actually moving for like, I say 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. It's
humbling, very humbling experience.
It can be, it definitely can be, you know.
But that's where your PT comes in, so that maybe, you know, they wouldn't start. That would never have been session 1. What I did on Monday wouldn't have been like, right, okay, I want you to do 120 burpees and 120 calories or whatever it is. Like, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah,
and no one would come back.
Yeah. That is where the PT needs to do his job of coming to your level and then raising that just a tiny bit. PT doesn't stay where he is and say, right, I'm going to drag you up to my level. You know, that doesn't work. That's not how it should be.
I think as well, one of the things that puts a lot of people off is there's no shame in quote unquote failure. Like, it's not a failure if you do so many sets to the point where you can't lift the weight anymore, or if you try, I don't know, a box jump on 90 centimeters or 60 centimeters or even like anything else, and you kind of do it. Like, that's not a failure. That's just a measurement of where you're at.
Yeah.
And then the job is to get to that level if that's what you want to do. Like,
of course it is.
Failure in the gym isn't really a thing. Like, I think a lot of people go in there and like they feel intimidated because they don't want to like fail in front of everyone else. But like, you know, that's not the point. That's not why you're there. Yeah. You're there to see where you're weak, where your weaknesses are, where you perhaps need to improve it, and then you get there by putting the work in.
But yeah, that's it, you know, and like you say, buddy, that is where your PT comes in, or you in this case as the fitness instructor, you know, that is where, you know, you're assessing where somebody is and modifying stuff to challenge them, you know. It's not like, oh, I find this challenging, you go away and do this. You know, and again, these park Qs can just start to pull together some information that sort of inform that process. You know,
no, definitely.
I always used to find it was a good opportunity to ask things like, I always used to put focus on somebody's like, why are you training right now? Why have you started now as opposed to a month ago, in another month's time? You know, what is it that you really want to get out of this? Their initial response is, I'd like to be a little bit fitter, maybe. You know, to which I reply, okay,
what does that mean?
I can do that. I can get you fitter, but what does fitter mean? And how do you know when you're at a point that you're happy? Yeah, what has motivated you to want to get fitter? And then they dig a little bit further and they say, okay, well, I'd like to be able to go out with the family on walks with the grandparents and not need to say to them every 15 minutes, oh, can we find a bench that I need to sit down on? Do you know what I mean? Little things like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, so now I'm not getting you to run 5K in my mind. Do you know what I mean? We're doing daft little things like maybe he's walking up and down the stairs, maybe he's carrying a little weight in each hand or something like that. You know, the definition of fitness has changed just by you being a little bit more specific on, or the client being a little bit more specific on what they actually want out of it, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like we say, we can modify other little things as well. The other stuff that I've used might be even just getting somebody to do their cardio, maybe it's at the end of the session, you know, even if it be a cool down. I'm saying, right, I'm going to put you on a bike for 10 minutes and you'll just do like some steady cardio, let the heart rate come down. If that person tells me from day one that they hate sitting on bikes, do you know what I mean? They hate cycling, they hate like sitting on the bike seat. It would be daft of me to then go, right, we're doing only cardio on a bike. You know, when they could be doing the cardio and getting the same effect really on a cross trainer or a Stairmaster or a treadmill even, you know. So again, I'm going to give you stuff that you don't like that needs doing. I'm never going to give you stuff that you hate doing that isn't important. Do you know what I mean? Or that I can't swap for something that you do find more enjoyable. Because like you said, most of the time, the more that you find it manageable and enjoyable, the more likely you are to stick at it, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
If you can start enjoying your exercise, you're halfway there, really. Right, buddy, let's go next slide then, please, dude. Right. So thinking about it from the other point of view as well a little bit, we're thinking about it helps the personal trainer become more familiar with the client's physical abilities. Again, you know, when it comes to putting stuff in place, when it comes to planning stuff, it does just let you know sort of what stuff that they're capable of doing, or the sort of stuff that you might ask them to do on day one, you know. And then, like I mentioned earlier on, it's going to protect you as well as the trainer against a lot of grievances, potential legal problems as well. Just by, you know, being able to, it like covers your back a little bit. You know, you can say, okay, we were aware of this, and this, which is why we've suggested this and offered you this. We had absolutely no idea that this was going on, or that you were on this medication, you know, or stuff like that. It might be something simple as medication that's going to affect like blood pressure, you know, and that member's using a sauna or a steam room after every session and using the facilities that way. You know, when you're maybe asking them to work at 100 miles an hour, you know, you're asking them to work at maximum heart rate, which in that case probably wouldn't be a great idea. When it comes to high blood pressure, it's recommended not to do much pressing above the head, because your heart has to work harder to push the blood up to your fingertips, working against gravity. So someone with high blood pressure shouldn't even be doing like overhead press, that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, so again, if you're not aware of certain medication or stuff like high blood pressure, and you go away and you know, God forbid someone has a heart attack mid set or something like that, do you know what, mate? It is scary, because I've worked with PTs that's happened to. I used to work with one lad who was in the gym by himself one night, and a guy just had a heart attack on the treadmill.
Wow.
And he had to respond to that.
Yeah.
And of course he had to be prepared for that, you know. Although we kind, I mean,
how do you as well? Like,
yeah, you're kind of never going to be prepared for something like that, but you also kind of need to know what it is that you need to do. And of course the whole process actually went to court. And he was sitting in the docket thinking, do you know what? I'm glad that Park U signed. Do you know what I mean? I'm glad that they signed their induction forms and stuff like that, because that's the case where do you know what? Of course, the ultimate travesty of it is that somebody has died and lost their life through it, really, but that PT is obviously going to now be in a position where they're facing, legal problems, potential jail time, depending on circumstances and how the investigation goes, so yeah, it's going to help you against a lot of potential issues, that touch wood, you're never going to come across and you'll never have to think about.
Yeah,
but
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, especially when we've got peace of mind knowing that you're not liable for stuff like that. If you play with fire and don't get these PARQs signed and don't get this information declared and being aware of before people are using your gym, sooner or later something's going to come around and bite you, and it's just not worth taking that risk for the sake of having a form on the system ready to print out and asking somebody for a couple of bits of information when they start. That would be reason enough to have PARQs, and then on top of it, add the benefits that we can get when it comes to information, helping, planning exercise programs and diets and stuff like that. There are so many more benefits beyond this, but even this alone is a bare minimum, when it comes to protecting yourself legally and stuff like that, that is enough reason in itself to have PARQs and make sure that we're getting them done, for sure. Definitely. Okay, cool. So, what else have we got? Helping open lines of communication between PTs and doctors. That's sort of mentioned earlier on. Being able to outsource stuff, ask questions from people who know more information about the areas that you're not so sort of clued up on, or like I say, that falls outside of your boundaries or your role responsibilities. And like I say, it not only helps the individual feel a little bit more like, oh, do you know what? Like I've got people behind the scenes working to put my exercise program in place. Always a good feeling, knowing that you've got people out there just as potentially more committed to your fitness journey than you are.
Yeah.
Depending on yourself and depending on the PT, but it's of course reassurance that everything's being done right. Your PT is not going to tell you to do anything that they're not qualified to do, because they've sort of made that evident by looking elsewhere and getting advice and, a little bit of consultation themselves. And then, of course, once you've opened that communication, you as a PT have got resource to a lot more information, and you might have somebody that you could just get in touch with quickly if you do have a question about maybe it's a different client, as you start to build that relationship and build those sort of connections and stuff like that. And again, it's just going to make sure that you're not recommending anything to a client that's going to be unsafe. And then, of course, sort of the sort of ultimate goal of your PARQs, as well as keeping everybody safe, is that it can be really helpful in designing your exercise program, and again, providing support and guidance for clients. I've signed people up to a gym that haven't taken up PT, but they've still filled in a PARQ. So I know straight away that this person, like I say, I can then use that PARQ, and then of course I have more of an idea what that person should and shouldn't be doing. So I can then just go up to that person on the gym floor, not directly say, okay, you shouldn't be doing that, but I might say, for this reason, because you need to work your hamstrings a little bit more, your hamstrings are a little bit tight, we're going to come over here and have you seen this machine? Have you thought about using this machine, doing a couple of sets on that? That in itself is giving additional support to a gym member that isn't even a client. Do you know what I mean? They haven't gone through a process with me, really. They haven't signed up to something that means I'm seeing them 2-3 times a week for the next 3 months. I'm not working with them directly and building up that relationship, which does give you a lot of information as well. All I've got is their PARQ that they've signed when they've sort of joined, and maybe it's the 10 minutes I've spent doing their induction. And then I can then still from there give them sort of ongoing support, a little bit of guidance, and like I say, just help keep them on the right track, whether they've signed up for PT or not, which is of course going to help boost their confidence. They're going to feel more sort of comfortable around you, and hopefully, hit their goals and get there quicker and a little bit more effectively before they start moving off and start chasing more.
Yeah. I mean, that for something that's relatively like short to cut, like to actually fill in, it seems to have a lot of benefits.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You know, it was one of them things where I looked and saying this, like, okay, this morning, like, we're looking at PAR-Qs. I'm like, okay, how do we talk about PAR-Qs for 2 hours? But then you do start sitting and breaking it down and looking at, like, okay, like, there's these implications for me. There's these implications for the client. There's potentially implications for a gym, if a gym is in the middle, if like a gym is the middleman, you know, and then of course all the different ways that it can be used to help sort of inform your program going forward.
Yeah.
So we've looked at the benefits, you know. So what information are we talking about when we're actually saying, like, right, this PAR-Q is going to gather information that's going to be helpful, you know, in putting your exercise plan together, you know. Let's have a look. Right, where we are. Just getting caught up with the chat there as well. If we can go, I don't know whether you're on the next slide already, buddy, or not. Yeah, you have.
What
just updated.
Yeah. PAR-Q ask for.
Excellent, buddy. Yeah, that's just updated there. Okay, cool. So, sort of as we've sort of circled around this morning, the more information that you can get on a PAR-Q, the more helpful it can be in guiding, supporting the individual to get the most out of their fitness journey while ultimately keeping them safe as well. Like, I used to have a PAR-Q, and I actually looked for it for this morning session, but I think it's on a hold hard drive that has since given in, you know. Mine was actually a couple of pages long because I realized, again, you know, the gym didn't have its own PAR-Q, so I needed all of that basic stuff. But then the more you PT and the more you understand your own style and the more you realize what you need from a client, the more you can update your PAR-Q onwards, you know. So mine was a little bit more of like a 3-page sort of form, like a questionnaire, but that was everything I needed, and you would pretty much only do that the once, you know. And you might actually do that while we sat down talking, and, you know, you're going through each option, and as you go, you're marking it off, and I'm telling you sort of why I've asked for that information and why, and like you say, what the implications are, you know, for how that information is going to be used, you know. So some are going to be really sort of quite basic and just get, like I say, the bare minimum. Depending on what the facility is or the activity, a lot of PAR-Qs are just they are going to be different, you know. They're going to need to know different things. But a lot of them are always going to ask for the same sort of basic information. You know, we've got your name on there, of course, so that we can file it effectively. I know who I'm talking to. I know that I can, of course, refer back to it later on if I need to, through that one piece of information. Again, I mentioned earlier on, I can then sort of look and say, okay, so and so is booked in for a consultation at this time. I can go back and I can see, okay, pair it up. Okay, there's their name. I can see obviously everything else that's with them, and I can start putting their consultation together and getting some ideas. You know, date of birth is one thing you might not really think about, because of course it's not injury based. It's not goal specific, but at the same time, it stands to reason that the way that someone who is 40, 50-year-old is going to train is going to be totally different to someone who's 20, 25. You know, rest periods between sets and between sessions is going to be different. You know, are we training muscle groups till failure, or are we doing sort of are we doing maybe supersets and getting, you know, doing a little bit of chest and back on the same day rather than just blitzing your chest? You know, can we do a full body session and then be prepared to do another full body session in 2 days' time? If you're 21, probably. If you're 45, 50, probably not. You know, you might be better off with more like a traditional split, like I'll do chest this day, legs the next day, so I know that the next time I do need to do my chest, it is going to have recovered, because we need that, like we say, a little bit more recovery time.
Yeah, that's where diet and stuff comes in as well, isn't it?
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. Like, looking at how we're going to structure all of that, your diet and your training, but of course, again, I'm going to get a rough idea probably how old you are the day that I meet you and the day that you turned up for your first consultation. But chances are I need to have, like I say, a little 20-minute exercise plan for you to do, or maybe something to advise and send you away with. I need to get an idea what I need to be asking you to be doing, you know. And like I say, I've trained 15, 16-year-olds, you know, under parent supervision. And of course, only doing stuff that sort of is recommended to kids, you know, maybe talking about staying away from the weights and stuff like that while their bones and their joints are still developing. At the same time, I've been at the other end of the spectrum where I have worked with people who are, trying to think of the oldest that I've worked with, maybe it's about 70, 75, you know, who In fact, yeah, there was a guy I was working with who was 75. He was in decent shape for that age, but at the same time, I need to then be aware of, okay, I'm now at risk of stuff like osteoporosis. If this is somebody who has never really exercised before, I need to know how capable they're going to be at doing even some basic things, stepping up onto a box, not even jumping onto a box. How capable is this person of handling stairs? When they haven't even, when they've lived in a bungalow for 30 years. Do you know what I mean? They don't ever use stairs. They don't come across stairs. Then I can think, okay, do I need to use stairs? What could I use stairs for? A little bit of aerobic endurance, maybe. I'm like, okay, I can do something else for that. I don't need to use them stairs. So again, looking at somebody's age can give you an idea of sort of what barriers they're going to be more susceptible, and just what sort of stuff you need to be a little bit more conscious of, or a little bit more aware of. I'd sort of mentioned height and weight earlier on. We can like I say, sort of plot you on a BMI chart as well, making sure that you are or seeing where you are on there. Give me an idea sort of fitness wise where you might be as you come in. Again, there's no direct limits on like, oh, okay, this person is classed as overweight on the BMI, that means I can make these assumptions about them, because that's not always going to be the case. That person might be quite fit, or the weight that they are carrying that says that they're obese might just be lean muscle. They might be in really, really good shape. At the same time, coming down the other end of the spectrum, we can tend to see, and again, if you know that somebody hasn't really done much training in the past, which is something else that a PARQ might ask for. If you know someone hasn't done much training in the past and they're saying that they are overweight on the BMI, that that's probably going to be a pretty accurate reading. Chances are someone's not going to be massively overweight on the BMI through lean mass if they've never trained a day in their life. So again, stuff like that can give us a bit of an idea where you're at, and sort of give you as an instructor an idea of who is going to be coming through the door for you to meet, and of course the aim really is it's impossible when you think about it, but the idea is to greet them like you know them already and that you've known them for ages. Of course, like you're trying to build that rapport and get them feeling comfortable.
So the BMI calculator on the NHS website is quite good. Gives you information about like what your range is.
Okay.
So I just did mine quickly. So it's got your, whether you're in the healthy range, what it asks you if you're like an ethnicity question, just that's for more like what you might be susceptible to in terms of like diabetes and things like that.
Of course, yeah.
But then it gives you a little bit of information on what it is, and how to get it. And obviously that it's only a guide, but they've got quite some good like weight loss support and safe weight gain and that sort of thing on there as well.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah. Just the BMI calculator on the NHS website.
Yeah. Oh, praise the NHS, man. Praise the NHS.
You just go on there and you just type in your numbers and press next, and it tells you what. There's also like an activity level thing on the bottom as well.
Yeah.
On the bottom.
That's quite interesting. Yeah.
Understanding your results as well.
Also helping you sort of break it down, sort of interpret them.
Information. I'll stick that in the chat actually.
Yeah, good thinking, man.
But the NHS has got quite a good resources online for stuff like that. But like I say, that on that link there, you'll find we've got an aspiring basketballer in the office who's just missed a bit. No, so that's fine. Yeah, check that out. It's really good, really useful information, and that's just on the NHS. Like the NHS have got a whole new sort of API thing that they've launched with stuff like this, where you can do them. There's a couple for mental health as well, like quick little short survey things that you fill out with some potential avenues to express and links to like booking an appointment at your GP and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah. Really handy. Yeah,
useful. Just like free information at your fingertips. Works on mobile as well if you're on your phone.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that is helpful. The amount of websites I try to go to on my phone, and it's just
it's all the bodybuilding ones when you end up on like, and there's like 16 pop-ups and an autoplay advert, and it's like it's not even worth knowing the information. I don't care. I'm not bothered. I'm having a good time. Go away.
I'd sooner hurt myself. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's a really handy resource then, mate. Cheers for sticking that in the chat. Definitely feel free to check that out, guys. Like you say, it's just interesting to do from time to time as well, isn't it? Just see where you're at with stuff. Like you say, even like a little flexibility test that you give yourself the other day, mate. It is sometimes humbling, and it gives you an idea that certain things need addressing that you didn't think need addressing. Do you know what? Sometimes it's just handy to realize that you've gone back over from last time that you stopped. Do you know what I mean? Because like I say, there's this pause mentality that a lot of us have, and it's easy to get into where you think, okay, like this has come up, I'll just carry on from where I've left off when I'm ready in a week, in 2 weeks. And you don't maybe realize that the longer that goes on, the further back over you're actually going to come as well, so you might be, it's like when you go back to the gym for the first time in a while, isn't it? And you pick up the old weights that you used to do, and you're like, oh dear, these feel heavy. Like I'm not moving these today. And it's the same with everything else, BMI, flexibility, all these components of fitness when you're measuring them. If you measure them just even just sort of like on a little bit of a whim, they can just give you an idea of where you are compared to last time that you were actually sort of on a fitness program, which it might inspire you to get another one sorted out.
Yeah, and what you really need to do is get yourself on one of the like actual machines. If your gym has one, obviously if it doesn't have one, you can't do it. But if you go and stand on it, gets you to do like a grip test and like a standing test with no shoes on it. Like scans your body basically and works out like your fat percentage and your visceral
water
fat,
retention,
which is all like your muscle, how lined your organs are with fat and things like that. And that's the probably the most accurate. And even then, they're not 100% accurate, but that gives you a better idea than just your BMI.
Yeah, definitely. Gives you a lot more of like an accurate breakdown on your body composition rather than just giving you like a number. Yeah,
because the number can be quite deceiving. If I put on another kilo, I'm overweight. But I know I'm not.
It's funny, isn't it? Well, that's the nature of it. Like by it being like a very sort of it's a numerative sort of system, isn't it? So like you could put on a pound and go from the ideal weight to overweight. Really,
at the moment, for my height, I'm top end of the scale. Like I'm approaching overweight.
Yeah.
But then the other end of the scale is like 56 kilos or something. And if I was 56 kilos, I'd be a skeleton. Like, that's not healthy either. So being on the tail end of them, it might be unhealthy for you, or you might be perfectly fine. It depends on your build, really, I suppose.
Well, that's it.
Just like you were saying before, it's just a guide, and it's not like you have to be in the optimal zone of BMI. Like,
oh, definitely not. Like, truth be told, like beyond stuff like this from like a parkour and just trying to get like a little bit of an idea and get a picture in my mind who I'm expecting in. BMI isn't anything I've ever really come back to be honest. I would always go to the likes of circumference measurements and stuff like that, actual fitness tests as well. How quick can you do this? Do you know what? I don't care what your physical weight is, as long as your joints and stuff are safe and your organs can cope with your physical weight. Like I've always sort of said, a scale only gives you your relationship with gravity. That's all that is. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't dictate your value as a person or your capabilities or your limitations or anything like that. Just obviously in some cases it informs what you should and probably shouldn't be doing as well, which is where it comes handy in a parkour. If I am much more concerned if I've got someone who would normally be a little bit overweight, considers themselves to be overweight, but they would just like to get a little bit fitter, it's not my choice to decide, right, the BMI says that you're overweight, so we need to get you to lose weight. It's not my call. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like I'm their PT and they're there to tell us what they want. If they just want to put a load of size on and get as strong as they can and train for a strongman competition, they don't want a PT saying, "Oh, your BMI is high. Well, you've got to lose some weight." Do you know what I mean? It's not up to me to decide what direction the training's going to go. It is stuff like if their BMI was really high, of course, I could then look and say, like, again, this person probably isn't a strong man or training for a strong man. This probably is weight that is genuinely bad weight that needs addressing, so I can then interpret that into the training and whatever plans I'm putting together that way. But again, I'm never going to look at somebody's weight.
You've got like on there, like, limitations, disabilities, injuries, pain, that sort of stuff. Like someone might be overweight or underweight. You know what I mean? They might not be able to put weight on because they can't exercise, or it's difficult for them to eat, or whatever it is. Like, you know, they've had to have an operation and now they've got no appetite, or they've had to have an operation now they can't move as much as they did. Like that's going to affect it, and you can't really. You're just gonna have to train around it and work around it. There's no overcoming it in a way. You've got to support them the best you can around it, and it's gonna be tough for them. Like someone with chronic fatigue, like there's only so much you can do.
Well, exactly, and that was kind of where I was at. She was like, "Oh, I want to pay for 10 PT sessions."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, you can only do 10 minutes at a time, and the gym will only let me offer PTs at 1 hour. They weren't offering a half an hour option."
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't, in good conscience.
No. Let you. Hour for 10 minutes.
Do you know what I mean? I just cannot, and rightly so. You know, and like I say, I was then able to, you know, get in touch with the GP, figure out she could only do 10 minutes, put her on to an off-peak membership because she was able to come in at that time, and then instead of £30 a month, she's only paying £15 a month. You know, which is extra good value when you think of the fact that not only can she come in 5 days out of the week, but she's now not paying for PT, but she's got someone behind the desk there who has got their finger on the pulse of what's going on, what they should be doing. Like I say, she wasn't paying, she didn't have a PT, but she still had somebody ringing her GP and making sure, right, what should she be doing? What's this? What's that? You know, which again, without that information being captured, if I wasn't working with her in a PT sense and finding out more about her, I would have been too easy to sign that person up, send her into the gym and you know, give her a really, really bad experience.
Yeah.
You know, because I think much to the disappointment of a couple of the gyms that I have worked at, my focus has never been just signing up as many members as possible. Do you know what I mean? I want people to get the most out of their membership. I want people in the right environment, and I want people to.
Well, they're going to come back, aren't they?
Of course, I mean? yeah.
It's quality over quantity, really, when it comes to stuff like that. Like
there's people that I've sent away from the gym and said, look, I don't think the gym's for you at the minute. Try walking, try classes, try cycling, try rambling groups, just based on what you've told me. So when that person comes back again, and then I'll say, right, I think now's the time to get you in. We're going to get you on 3 PT sessions a week. They're much more likely to buy into that because they know full well that I'm not just telling them what I feel like they need to hear or want to hear, you know, and making sure that, again, they are going to get the most out of it because, do you know what? Like, I realised I'm not going to be PTing forever.
Yeah.
Certain gyms aren't going to be open forever. Gyms come and go. What I want to do, what's he doing? Singing. What I always wanted to be able to do would be make sure that, like, I've always wanted the highest percentage of people possible that start exercising with me to still be doing it in 10 years, 20 years down the line. Do you know what I mean? And giving them the best start increases the chances of that, you know? So acknowledging that I'm not going to be part of that process all the way, you know? I'm essentially like, you know, when you launch a rocket into space and there's that little bit that drops off when it's like, my work is done.
Yeah.
That's me. Do you know what I mean? I'll get somebody so far. I'll just come back down to Earth and then ready for the next launch. Yeah, you know, as opposed to you know, being under the impression that I'm going to be there to keep somebody motivated for 20 years because it's just not going to happen. You know, I did have clients that I worked with pretty much since day one to the day that I stopped. You know, you're talking 5-6 years of working pretty closely with some people. I don't have any hesitations that they will be able to carry on a lot of what they were doing, and they have such a good association with fitness now, and they see the benefits that I don't need to worry about them too much. And at the same time, I know full well that although I'm not PTing, they know that they can always just reach out and say, look, Rob, I'm struggling with this, that, or the other, you know, and get a little bit of advice. So again, you know, realizing somebody's training history, which is something that I always ask for on my PARQ, it might give you an idea, again, what you need to focus on with them, stuff that they've done before, stuff that they like and they're really good at. Again, some way that you can interpret this information might be, I know that somebody really, really likes doing chest day, chest and triceps. I know that somebody likes doing that.
Everyone likes doing that.
Yeah. So why? Some women don't. Some women don't like doing. It's upper body. It's upper body because, of course, naturally women I'm not going to generalize too much, but of course on a biological level, women, a lot of their natural strength is in their lower body, you know, through childbearing and stuff like that.
It's a bit of like a paradigm in the gym as well, that's not really common.
Yeah.
Like if you walk in any given gym, the majority of the benches will be taken up by men.
Blokes doing chest day.
So, yeah, because every day is chest day, and you can never get on the bench. And then when you do, someone comes up. The second you sit down, how many sets you got left, mate? And I'm like, I've just sat down. You just watched us sit down.
Yeah. Oh, mate, that blew somebody's mind. That blew somebody's mind. That when they said, "Wow, every time I try and do this chest session that you've given us, I get to the gym and it's so busy, I can't get on. I'm like, well, you're trying to do chest on the same day as everybody else. I'm like,
I've stopped doing it on a Monday.
Yeah, do your chest on a Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? Save yourself a load of time. And it was like, oh my, why didn't I think about doing that? You know, little things like that. But again, you know, depending on when they're planning on being in for their PT sessions, as opposed to when they're planning on being in by themselves, you can factor that into your structure a little bit. If I know that you love doing chest and triceps, why on earth am I going to waste one of your PT sessions?
Yeah.
Stood there telling you to do stuff that I know you would do by yourself because you enjoy doing it. And then I'll say to you, have you done your legs? Oh, I'm like, no, I didn't do legs last week. It's like, right, okay. What I'll do then, I'll do legs with you.
Yeah.
And then I know that you'll do your chest and triceps by yourself as well, you know. So that's where, again, little things like preferences are going to come into play. I know what you can be trusted to go away and do by yourself. And I also know what you're going to kind of shirk from, you know, shy away from a little bit. And, you know, maybe he's actually come to me and say that you've done it when you haven't, you know, which is potentially worse than coming up and saying, no, I haven't done it at all, you know. Yeah. So again, there are just a couple of other little bits that we might ask for on that PAR-Q, you know. Pain when it comes to exercising can be internal or external, you know. That could be like, I want to know whether your ankle twinges when you do this, if your knee hurts when you do this, if you get shoulder pain doing certain exercises. But I also need to know, do you get chest pain when you exercise? Have you had chest pain recently when you've been exercising or even just resting? You know, that might be something that I need to think about. So any sort of pain and discomfort, especially when it comes to exercise and fitness, is something that we need to be aware of. Operations that you've had, how recently they were, you know. There are certain exercises, again, where it comes to having vertebrae fused in your back when we're dealing with slip discs and stuff like that. I need to know why. I need to know if you've had that operation. But again, it's just as relevant if it was 5 years ago as opposed to 6 months ago. In the sense of I've still needed to, right? Okay, you've got 4 vertebrae fused together. It's unrealistic for me to think that you're going to have a full range of motion in your back. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, stuff like that I need to be aware of. Again, we're not going to make it worse. We're not going to re-aggravate anything. Again, if you had like a surgery or something like that and you've got stitches in that, you know, moving through a certain range is going to stress them stitches and maybe pull them and reopen the wound as well, which nobody wants. That's never a situation that you want to be in. That's never a good time, you know. So, again, thinking about stuff like that. Again, it might not be the first thing that comes to your mind, a heart bypass that you had 10 years ago, but your PT needs to know about it or your fitness instructor needs to know about it. Again, it might not seem relevant right now. Your PT might not really need to factor it into your training too much. But at the same time, again, if you then end up having a stroke or chest problems, stuff like that, in the gym, it needs to have been declared, really, you know, for both of your sakes, really. And then we've just got any other limitations, disability that needs to be considered, you know, where we're thinking maybe some a little bit less extreme, you know, be it an asthma, be it diabetes that we need to think about, where we need to be actively considering blood sugar as well while we're training, how we're working that, how we're sort of manipulating your insulin level, of course. At this point, and even in the level 3 PT, they only really teach you the basics, and they teach you the principles behind it. It doesn't go into it in a great depth. So that is, of course, nothing that you really need to know how to be prepared to adjust somebody's training to account for, you know, blood sugar and insulin spikes and stuff like that. You don't need how to do that. Yeah. You just need to be aware of how important the PAR-Q is capturing that information and why we would need to do that as well, you know. I don't need to plan, and like I can really do without planning like an hour's session, and then, you know, somebody's blood sugar's totally burned out after 20 minutes, and I'm needing to think. I might need to think to myself, okay, does this person need like a break? Do we need to split this session in two? Do we do half an hour, have a food break? They can have a banana or an apple or whatever it might be, and then we can get back to it. That might be something that you need to do. Not for you guys to worry about too much, but again, just an example of how we can actually use that information and why it's important that we've got it. Right, guys, so we've got on the next slide, we've actually got an example that one of our learners has done in the past. So this can give you an idea, of what it is that you should be doing or need to be doing after today's session. So, of course, we've got on there Parkio at the top. So
we've got very neat handwriting.
It is. You know what? I made sure that I used a learner because you wouldn't be able to read mine.
No, definitely not. I was thinking it wouldn't look like this.
No, definitely not, especially after you. Do you know what, mate? Bar the odd shopping list where I'll write down, we need this.
Oh, mate.
Couldn't tell you the last thing I wrote. Yeah.
It's going on my phone these days. It's not. I'm not writing it out.
Oh, most of my stuff
does.
Yeah.
There.
Nice, mate. Nice. There's the man who's prepped.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing after the session today.
I used to do all my session plans on my phone when clients were coming in. I used to have a tablet that I took around on the gym floor that would have their session plan in, and I might fill in their sort of what they're doing as they go on. Be it results, what weight have they done on each set, how many reps have they done, that sort of thing as well. But nowadays, because I'm working in one room really, and I'm working from home, if I go to the kitchen, I'll leave my phone. I'll open the cupboard. I'm like, we need this. I've learned too many times. If I wait till I come back upstairs to put it on my phone, I'll forget altogether. So now we've just got
yourself your digital assistant. So like a
digital
Google
assistant,
or Alexa, where you can say, Alexa, add this to my shopping list.
Yes, that's what I need. If only I was that tech savvy, mate. If only I was that tech savvy.
They work out the box these days, man. You don't have to do anything. There's no work involved. You just plug it in, switch it on. There you go, it's sorted.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? I've always found that I'll be working religiously on one app, and then my phone and like you say, Alexa or Bixby or whatever it is just wants to link into a totally different app, and you've got to start again. I'm like, okay, what I'm doing's work, and I'll sort that out later. And then 2 years later, you're due for a phone upgrade, and you've never sorted it out in the whole time. But I'm definitely not one for the handwriting these days. No. So thank whoever this learner was, because if it was mine, it wouldn't be this eligible. Definitely not. Okay, so what have we got? So please carefully read the following questions, answering each one honestly, ticking the appropriate box. Of course, letting the member know what it is that you're expecting for them with the boxes and stuff like that. All answers will be confidential. Again, can be quite important to put that on and just let people know, look, this information won't go any further than me. If I do need to take it any further and speak to a GP or whatever, can I ask, or I would need to ask your permission to take that any further. It might be necessary, but again, this information needs to stay confidential between the instructor and the client, and potentially the gym, if the gym's got anything to do with it, Okay, so a Parkio must be completed before any form of training/induction is allowed. Yeah, we've sort of mentioned this earlier on. Of course, we want to get it on the form as well to let the individual know why they're being asked to fill in a Parkio. And just like we've done this morning, let them know the benefits. Let them know that, do you know what, it is another form that you've got to sign when you're signing up for the gym. It might go with your direct debit form. It might go with the terms and conditions of use of the gym. It might go with the terms and conditions of personal training if you're signing up for one of them as well. But you know what? Like if you could just take a couple of minutes to, again, let people know why you're asking for this information, it sort of breaks down a couple of barriers as well, and makes it seem a little bit less of just another form that needs filling in. Like I sort of mentioned earlier on, I would quite often get a client down and talk them through this. Do you know what I mean? And let them know why they're filling it in. Has your doctor ever said that you've got a heart problem? Yes, no. They say no, happy days. If they say yes, I'll let them know why it's important that they've let me know that, or they might have something where they're not quite so sure, where they're like, oh, do you know what, like, what do you class as a heart problem? If you'd left them to their own devices, they might have been tempted to click no, or to tick no. Whereas if you're there sort of with them as well, talking them through it, they might say, well, yeah, this like every now and then when I'm doing this, you're like, okay. So, maybe the doctor hasn't said you've got a heart problem, or maybe the doctor has said you've got a heart problem and you're just sort of in denial with yourself, But again, if you're there to talk somebody through each step, it makes the why of it all make a little bit more sense. you know. So of course, like I mentioned earlier on, we've got a name on there, we've got a date of birth. Like I say, we mentioned those are bits of information that we want and need. Has your doctor ever said that you've got a heart problem? We sort of mentioned earlier on about problems with the chest as well. We've got underneath, have you ever had chest pain when you were, and we've given 2 options there for doing activity and for resting as well, making sure that we declare both of those, and whichever one's appropriate. Are you currently taking any medication for heart problems or other problems? You can click yes or no. You might choose to leave another box there that says what medication that actually is. You know, another thing that I used to use on mine. What medication are you on? Can I actually go away and Google some of the side effects? Can I have a look and see if, you know, we're expecting weight loss to be a little bit harder because of a certain tablet that you're going to be on? You know, that sort of thing. And again, it gives me an idea as well what other stuff you're dealing with. If it's not for a heart problem, if it's for another problem, what problem is it for? You know, is it maybe something to do with depression, anxiety? You know, maybe you're on medication to deal with something that's more mental than physical. Again, that might, it's not going to restrict what you can do physically, but it's certainly going to inform my approach and how I'm going to sort of address PT and coaching you, and sort of hopefully use that mentality to your advantage and be aware for any setbacks that might come with that. You know, if I know that somebody's got low sort of self-esteem, they're on medication for depression, for anxiety, you know, I really, really want to make sure that that first session feels like a success and a win, you know, for them. So again, I try and do that for everybody, you know, again, but at the same time, you just do start to link in with certain people's psychologies and just sort of realize what's going to help you get the most out of them as well. What else have we got there? Next page. Do you suffer from bone or joint problems? Yes or no? Again, something that we need to think about. In the past year, have you had any major illness or surgery? Again, we could leave a box underneath there to put in what that surgery was, or just a little box to, you know, describe a little bit further. Have you ever been diagnosed with any of the following? Diabetes, epilepsy, asthma, other problems? And again, just little ticky boxes. So really this form shouldn't take long to do. You know, when you sort of weigh up the benefit of doing it and having it done, it's a little bit of a no-brainer. You know, I've even got at the bottom there, if yes to any of the above, please sort of state, you know, what it is,
what's wrong with it and why.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
and
you'll know that, you know, yourself, so it should, like you say, not take very long. It just keeps people away. Like if you know, like I think the diabetes one's probably quite common. Like if you didn't know someone had diabetes and they just suddenly passed out, like you wouldn't have that information. If, you know, they might have a medical bracelet that they don't wear to the gym for whatever like condition they've got, and if they don't have it on, you can't pass that information on to an ambulance. Like, I don't
know.
So knowing it and having it on file is like, it gives you that that like the jump start really if anything ever goes wrong. Also, you can tailor the training around it as well. Like it sort of helps you both ways, doesn't it? Like you were saying.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's more than just one reason that we've got these things. You know, and it's funny because it's the paperwork side of the job wasn't, of course, anything that I ever looked forward to doing. The client wasn't looking forward to doing it. They're keen to just get started. So again, if you can let them know why you're going to use this information and why you're asking for it, and again, like it might make them sit up a little bit and think, oh, okay, this person's really like taking my individuality into consideration. Like I am actually going to get some personal training out of this, not just or some personalized advice, not just be put on the same program that I've just seen 3 other people upstairs in the gym doing, because one PT and he just hands out the same exercise plans to everybody. Do you know what I mean? So again, it sort of helps build that trust as well. And again, do you know what? I never had any problem in openly just admitting, do you know what, this is the part of the job nobody likes. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, right, now for the boring bit, sorry. But if you want to get started, we've got to get your direct debit sorted. We've got your membership thing to sort, and we've got the park to do. But you know what, once it's done, you know? And like I say, just sort of just giving them a heads up for why we're doing it as well. Again. Other stuff that you might ask for, are you pregnant? Yes or no? Have you recently had a baby? Yes or no? And that is another reason people might try and rush back to exercise, actually, you know, or would be medically advised to not be exercising. Now, I'm no expert on pre and postnatal exercise at all. I think Mel's done a couple of courses on it. I think Mel knows a little bit more than I do. So if there's anybody out there that is a little bit unsure about, I'm pregnant, what should I be doing? When should I stop exercising? This, that, and the other. If you do have any questions, again, by all means, do reach out, and I'll try and get some information.
We'll get you some information. I'll point you in the right direction, if not anyway.
Exactly, buddy. Yeah, exactly, buddy. Be it pointing you towards the GP or whatever it might be. Yeah, for sure. But again, if Mel's got the quality in that, then there's not much of an issue in asking Mel as well. But yeah, a lot of people who are hardcore trainers and really, really into their training, tend to not want to stop training till as late as possible.
Yeah.
I
think exercise is encouraged, I'm sure, but not
exercise
at the same level. Maybe.
Yes, just not training for sort of powerlifting competitions.
Maybe clean and press can take a bit of a backseat for a couple.
Definitely, yeah. And do you know what? Even little things like getting on the leg press, and of course your knees come in and your stomach gets all cramped and stuff like that. Like, of course, not a good position that we want to be putting ourselves in when
your body's already under strain.
So. Exactly, mate. And I think that's where some of the argument comes in, where it gets to a point where your body's under that much strain, just growing and maintaining another life. It gets to a point where it's probably more detrimental to then ask it to do more on top of that. Now, of course, we're talking really, really quite late on in the pregnancy, and it's different for everybody, really. But it does get to the point where you might be better off just easing up a little bit and resting. And then, of course, knowing when the time is right to go back after training again. Maybe you've had a C-section. Maybe you've had a C-section and you've got stitches and stuff like that. And then we've got stuff to think about, like pelvic floor weakness, which is often quite common in women who've had kids. Core strength normally suffers quite a lot as well, because, like I say, you've pushed a lot of those muscles out of their natural position to accommodate a human. Really, we've talked about before how based on how the abs sit together, when someone's pregnant and their stomach swells and expands, you can actually get your fingers between them two sort of strips of abs down the middle. I think any sort of assumption that you've not caused any sort of not damage there, but not to say that there's not going to be something there to address afterwards, would be a little bit naive. So we do need to work on things like your pelvic floor, your diaphragm, your core strength and stuff like that. Like, I used to have when I used to teach the trampoline classes, used to catch us out all the time, because I don't think, if people haven't been on a trampoline for a long time, which is the majority of people sort of over the age of maybe 12, they don't realize
for about 10 years.
You haven't? No. I hadn't until I started teaching these trampoline courses, and I was like, okay, I've got to get my feet on these again a little bit, And you know what? People would come in and start bouncing, and within 5 minutes, it's like, oh, Rob, where's the toilet? Do you mind if I go to the toilet? Honestly, all the time.
All your insides gets a nice big shake up.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know the main offenders were mums who'd had kids at any point? You're talking up to 10 years, and never done any core strengthening work since. So pelvic floor, bladder, all of that is just not as strong as it could be. And a couple of them I actually got signed up into PT, so sort of outside of the fitness classes, I actually got them to come to a totally different venue and do PT to strengthen their core. And then, of course, they still carried on doing these trampoline classes, and before long, it was just not a problem ever again. Really, any more so than going on a trampoline with a bladder. If you were anybody, with a full bladder, is going to make you need the toilet. It did get to the point where they were able to sort of cope with these things a lot better. Core strength as well, like when you ask somebody to do a plank, that's going to give you a good idea of their core strength. And again, a lot of people in this position where they've recently had a baby, their core strength has just dropped straight off. So you might ask them to do a plank, they might get X amount of seconds in, and they might drop, and they might actually surprise themselves, because they might be thinking, oh, do you know what? Before I was pregnant, I could do a plank for 2-3 minutes. Yeah. It's like, okay, but like,
good for you.
You think about what your body's just been through. Yeah. Psychologically, you feel just as on the ball, and you feel just as motivated. Your body has just grown and then passed another person, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, your whole physiology changes, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, of course it does. There's certain things that may never be the same again. You know, I mean, I talk about membrane. I give Mel jip all the time because like membrane and like even, do you know what? We've kind of, Alex has been the same since we got the pup. Like, she doesn't sleep right. She just doesn't sleep right. She kind of switch off, and any little sound will wake her up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Little stuff like that. And then, of course, you've got stuff to do with like your fitness and your physiology, like Hatham says, where sooner or later, you know, you need to work on it again for it to be back to get back how it was. You know, it doesn't just come about by accident, just like it didn't come about by accident the first time. You know, it's just unfortunate. But of course, there's the whole miracle of life in there as well, and all of that as well. So you know, it's I've never met a mum who's had a child take a bit of time off training and said, you know what, this wasn't worth it. You know, so again, you know, it is just a case of
like, you know, athletes do it.
Yeah, of course.
Serena Williams did it, didn't she?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Come back, it's just still the best in the world. So
yeah. It is. It's just a case of, okay, like, how do I take this into consideration? What might I need to work on? You know, this might be someone signing up who, you know, no physical evidence that they've recently had a baby, and you know, you go to ask them to start doing certain things, and like I say, they might be getting lower back pain. You know, a lot of lower back pain I've worked with either comes from hamstring tightness or lack of core strength. You know, because people are happy to do sit-ups all day long, or they're wanting to do sit-ups and stuff like that, but they're not developing everything else. So you actually end up with like tension in some places and tension not in places, and of course we need the tension balanced out really, and that's where you do start to end up with injuries and problems and stuff like that. So again, if your core's not as strong as it might be because you've just had a baby and I don't know about that, we're going to miss a very crucial step in rebuilding core strength. You know, which might be where I would actually probably start with that person, you know, before we start doing other stuff. So again, if that question wasn't on there, I wouldn't have that information. We might get 2 or 3 weeks into a program. They've used up 2 or 3 of the sessions that they're paid for before you can really start to maximize doing stuff that's going to help them get the most out of it. Because do you know what? They need to be working on their core strength, whether they realize it or not, potentially, you know, in this sense. And then just to finish up the PARQ, we've got at the bottom there. Thank you for completing this form. If your health changes, please contact a member of staff as soon as possible. Sort of mentioned that earlier on as well. Signature will go on there from the client, obviously, and a date will go on there as well, just to say what day they've signed that and carried that out, just in case you need to reference back to that at any point. You know, so we do want to make sure that we've got that on there as well. And we can see just on like that's obviously like 2 sides of A4 paper. On 2 sides of A4 paper, we can capture pretty much all the information that we might need to, like we say, get everything set in place to give this person a running start at their fitness and their fitness journey, pretty much. You know, so that's a rough idea of what your PARQ is going to be looking like, or should be looking like, by the time we've got it done and written on paper. And that is totally fine if you just want to snap pictures of it like that and send it over to me. That's totally cool, because of course I'm aware that we're working in a digital sort of medium at the minute, so it's going to be emails or Zoom calls pretty much. So again, if an image will do, I'm more than happy for you to just snap a picture and send it over as an attachment on an email. Maybe when you send the workbooks as well. Maybe when you send your fitness assessment that we worked on last week and got written down. So yeah, that just gives you a rough idea what it is that we're sort of looking for. And then yeah, that's the last thing that we've got to do. We'll get this boxed off and get it done. Yeah. And then that's us really. If we can just go to, we've got 2 more slides to look at quickly, buddy. And there's just the last one we'll break down. Oh, nice one, mate. You're a little bit further ahead than I've lagged behind, man. I've lagged. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I'm right. Cool. So of course, yeah, as we sort of mentioned all this morning, the more information you can get, the better. That is why my PARQ was always pretty in depth. Again, it was part of a fitness assessment as well, all piled together. And I just used to use it as part of this process of, right, okay, it's sort of like a human service, and I'm working with you for the first time. I need to know where you're at in terms of everything, pretty much, you know. Again, you know, some places the questionnaire is going to be quite basic. But of course, we've just been through, there's some information that we need on there, regardless of sort of how basic it's going to be. Other questions that they might ask for, you know, there's a couple on there that we've just sort of looked at. chest pain when you're resting or exercising, pregnant, or recently had a baby. Two that I used to ask quite often would be, when were you last on a fitness program? So were you relatively active 6 months ago, or has it been 10 years? Pretty much, that is again going to affect the way that I get you started, for sure. And then, like I mentioned earlier on, what's made you start now? Why are you here now? Why are we having this conversation now rather than 6 months ago or in 6 months' time? And really, really digging into that and giving them chance to write that down as well. Because again, PARQ is something that you might actually let them have a read back through somewhere down the line. These niggles that you were getting there, you don't get them anymore. You're now able to say, look, okay, like we were sort of saying earlier on, reassessing your goals when you get them to the point where they don't want to work on strength anymore or hypertrophy anymore. It's like, happy days. Let's look back at when that was your goal. Do you know what I mean? Let's look back to when it was an aspiration and now it's under your belt. Where do we go from here? And it just helps sort of like grow that confidence a little bit more and help you just build out from there, But those are just a couple of the other little bits that I would have on my PARQ. You might choose to put on yours. And like I say, it's entirely up to you as long as we've got that basic information on there. There's pretty much a requirement that we're going to need the most. Like I say, it's up to you how detailed you want to make your PARQs. But again, if you're struggling, if you're not sure what you should be doing or how to best go about that, by all means, like I said, just give me a shout, drop me an email. I'll stick my email in the chat now. In fact,
I can do it. Mate.
Are you sure, mate? Yeah, cheers, buddy. Spot on, mate. So
the survey and the workout vid are in there as well. So I'll just drop your contact info in there and all. Sorted. There you go.
Spot on, mate. Excellent. Thank you very much. Cool. Right, sorted then, guys. Sorted. So, I'm obviously there. If you do need to drop us an email, either like I say, book a 1-to-1, and we can go through some stuff, or like I say, if you've just got a question or something that you want to fire across, happy to sort that out for you. The workout video, as always, is in the chat. And of course, we'll now take you to the playlist on the channel as well, so you've pretty much got your pick of workout videos. If you do fancy saying, I've just with it being the last session today, I've picked us a nice sort of stretching routine for us to do. If you're feeling something a little bit more high octane this morning, by all means, do have a scan through and find something else. And then of course the survey that we've got as well. So if you don't mind just spinning onto the last slide, buddy, I've just got a little mention on there as well.
There you go.
As always, please don't forget to complete the survey and fill that out for us. It doesn't even take 30 seconds, and this one is kind of extra important with it being the end of the course, so we can get some feedback on sort of the course in general, pros and cons, what we do well, what we've been doing well, and then of course how we can be even better and suit you guys even more, because that's always what we're striving to do, So yeah, that'll wrap us up. Level 2 all done. Of course, once all workbooks are in and stuff like that, and we've got everything signed off, we can get certificates processed and sort of sent out, and then there you go. It's another what do they say? Another string on your bow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, or another arrow in your quiver. One of the two. One of the two. So many archery analogies. I don't know what the crack is, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know where that comes from. Yes. Yeah. So a little bit of a recap. We've just got our workbooks to finish up, do our circuit cards, our fitness assessment, and your PARQs all need to come across as well to get you sort of finished up and everything signed off. And then, of course, as much as anything, we hope that you've enjoyed yourself. Hope that you've enjoyed the course. Stay tuned to hear about some more upcoming online learning opportunities. That's coming up maybe in the next couple of months. I know we've got some stuff booked in on the health and fitness side of things. I know that there's stuff coming up with the digital side as well. So again, keep your ears tuned. Keep your ear to the ground and finger on the pulse. See what's coming up. And like I say, give us a shout if you do have any queries about any of that as well. Other than that, then that'll do it from me. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for choosing Media Savvy as your provider for sure. Do you have anything that you want to add this morning, buddy, before we bounce?
No, mate, it should be good.
Spot on, mate. Cool. Right, guys. Well, as always, take care of yourselves. Have a good week. I won't see you next week, but I'll see you when I see you. And soon. By all means, reach out if you need anything. And hopefully, I'll see you soon. And touch wood, it might actually be in person in the at the old Savvy Towers if we can wangle that sometime soon. So fingers crossed. And of course, we'll keep you updated with all of that through social media and all the likes. Spot on, guys. Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Well done, everyone.
This morning, if you've jumped in the chat as well, I really appreciate it. Like I say, take care, stay safe, and we'll catch you when we catch you.
Ta-ra.
Go. See you later.